presentation is based on some practical experience of consulting for SEZs and STZs in Pakistan, and experience of being part of development of these concepts and its legislations, and also partly some research myself and my partners shown here, whose names are shown here, we have done over the years. So basically, the whole purpose is that we need to see uh, how STZs in Pakistan can be harnessed properly and effectively for the growth in the industrial manufacturing sector of Pakistan. तो इसमें थोड़ा सा मैं आपको कॉन्टेक्स्ट और बैकड्रॉप से लेके जाऊंगा, बट जस्ट वन मोमेंट, गिव मी वन मोमेंट. Okay, sorry about that. So I'll take you through the context and backdrop of the STZ, the incentive development or investment hospitality in Pakistan. So you see, this study is very interesting slide, and it's a very busy one. So I'll just show you briefly and point out to you what are the points to look for. Really, when in 2017, Vision Pakistan 2025 was put together, it was never actually implemented by that government of that time. And it coincided with the start of the CPEC industrial collaboration phase. So CPEC had been there for some years, and it was the industrial collaboration phase which started in 2017. And at that time, the projection actually was that by 2025, Pakistan would be a $4,200 GDP per capita economy if that plan was pursued. And you can see where we are today. You can see the 1588 mark over a period of time. This is where we are in 2023. And we now have the platform of SIFC to take it forward from here. But as you can see, the challenge has grown bigger. So interesting point to note was that if you continue to grow at 5 to 6% per annum, you can see the dotted line trajectory. It would, by 2050 or 2047, you would have turned into a middle income country. Now, that is a 35-year journey at 5%, 6% rate of growth. And it hits you when you look at it this way. Because normally we tend to say, okay, development will, अच्छे दिन आ जाएंगे, ये development होगी तो ऐसे होगा, ऐसे होगा, ऐसे होगा. But basically, it's reason, if even with reasonable projections, it's a 30 to 35-year journey. So, and which is actually the case when you look at Turkey. It did that in 35 years from the date it was at 1600 GDP to where it is today at 12,542. It was a 35-year journey. Malaysia took 30 years to reach from $1640 GDP to 11,183 in 30 years. And China, and so on, Thailand. And then you can see an inflection. So it took China 24 years to be at 8,826. And then it took it only 7 years from there to become a $12,720 GDP today. So while China was busy in last 7 years, going from 8,826 to 12,720, Pakistan was busy going from 1641 to 1588. So now we need to see that what the country, what what it needs to do and how it will do, or what would the future look like. So sometimes when we are talking about these absolute, these numbers in absolute terms, GDP 12,000, 10,000, we sometimes cannot make sense of what it actually means. And therefore, we are unable to envision what the challenge is. So I'll show you in the coming slides what that means. But before I go there, um, I want to show how Pakistan has strengthened over the years. We all are very uh, critical of what has happened in Pakistan. Always we are self-critical, but there are certain good things happening. So you see, by 2005, we had discovered that Pakistan's economic commercial model was primarily, debate was whether we are agriculture economy or industrial economy, etc., for many, many decades, until we discovered that, it was the gateway to Asia and aligned north-south. And historically, that actually was a major change in thought because for thousands of years, Pakistan was in the crossroad from east to west only, not at all from north to south. And this is shown in the routes that the traders had taken. This is the shown as the route that the conquerors has taken, etc. So across Pakistan, from Lahore to Kabul, or from Multan to Kandahar, or Karachi to Bahrain, these were all east-west routes. But owing to the tensions on the eastern border, continued tensions for several decades, and instability on the western border, the Pakistanis as a nation have aligned economically north-south. So really along the Indus Valley. So the rivers, your trade pathways, and your uh, urban centers have all aligned north-south. So this was the basis for the CPEC framework also. That CPEC framework actually completely superimposed over what was actually happening in Pakistan owing to political and geopolitical conditions, and strengthened the Pakistani polity because they became interdependent economically and commercially on each other. So the barriers of the various provinces actually became shorter or lower. Now, when you say, okay, what does a $10,000 per capita income country would look like, say Pakistan of 2050, and you can imagine an electricity generation or consumption of 1.5 trillion kilowatt hours per year, which means it's about 175,000 megawatt. That oil of 1.1 to 1.2 million BPD a year, a garment fashion industry of that size. So we actually did some research that okay, we are at 220 or 200 million 200 million population country. So what would we be? A $10,000 GDP per capita of 400 million people. What would the economy look like at that time? So that actually shows you the task that a realistic task that faces us. And I'll go back to saying, show you the slide. You can see the green line where it says journey so far at the left bottom hand corner. And you can see what our planning people have been doing is just historical based planning. So you say, okay, we've come here, so X% increase this, X% increase that. So when you do historical based planning, so your growth actually looks like this. But if you have a target, or if you imagine yourself to be a $10,000 economy by 2050, your growth path is shown by the dotted line. And that's when everybody can focus. That's when everybody can focus. Look, that's the target. That's where we have to get to. to be a middle income country. So what most of the time people forget is that when we say, okay, we'll become a developed country, we don't comprehend that the population increase is also taking place. So, and the resources also uh, are challenged in the same way. Now, um, we tried to do some economic indicators of what that country would look like, an imaginary Pakistan in 2050, and you can see, uh, a positive balance of trade. These are the kind of things you need. Exports of 300, nearly $400 billion, an investment rate of 42%, domestic savings at 44, tax revenue at 23%, so on and so forth. And this is a $4 trillion economy. So we recently heard the Minister for Planning and Development saying that by 2047, Pakistan would be a developed country, amongst the largest economies in the world, top 10. The answer is, well, by the time it will take you at 5-6% growth. If you're able to achieve that, it would take you to $4 trillion economy. By that time, other countries would have gone further. So yes, you can do a $10,000 economy if you focus correctly and you align your horses properly. But the world is also going forward at the same time. Now, we need to see how the government obviously realizes this in and many forums they show the intent, and now there is the SIFC which is uh, taking this forward, the path to growth. We need to now see that if these challenges have to be met, where do the Pakistan's technology ecosystem fit in this space? Now, if you look at what the world currently is, when you say, okay, middle income countries, what they look like is the lower arrow. So typically, the countries have 60 to 70% of their industry as manufacturing economy as manufacturing and engineering goods, IT and AI, and 31% others. But right now, the upper arrow shows what Pakistan is currently. It's currently 60% textile and leather apparel, and 36 others, and engineering good only making 4%. So this transition has to take place. We have to go from uh, third industrial revolution to fourth industrial revolution, and it can only happen if this transition is made through technological improvement. And here, the technological improvement doesn't mean IT alone, it means AI. We all know now that the engineering disciplines and technical disciplines are all merging. So they are becoming interdependent. The products, the engineering, and the domains of various discipline of engineering are becoming fuzzier, and you can't do one without the other. So this is the technological challenge that faces us if we have to meet the economical challenge. And then, so we actually mapped, okay, what will have to be done. So if you do $10,000 economy and $4 trillion size, you have the low hanging fruit, which is 2 years, short term things to do in 5 years, medium term. And in this duration, you're moving from manufacturing you're moving into secondary, tertiary sectors of the economy. So you're transforming from simple raw material export, raw material processing, etc., and then exporting, making primary manufacturing, etc., to go into service and upper levels of economy. So that might happen by 2047. So if 2047, then you need to start now doing that, moving from what we do today to what we have to do later on. And we must remember all this while that, this is the picture that we've tried to draw is based on technology of today. We've not been able to, or we didn't have the means to actually try and see what the economy would look like incorporating the technological changes that will happen over 30 years. So what we are trying to do is look at economy of 2050 through the lens of today. So, but that is a subject for another uh, talk. What the technical transitions and technological advancements have to take place. But if you embark on the technology path to growth, you ought to be able to keep in step with the technological advancements. So, for example, motor cars in 2050 may not be oil based, so oil economy may not be that large, but electrical requirement may be higher. Solar may be different. Solar size of solar component of your energy mix, etc. Now, in the ecosystems, SEZ and STZs play a very, very important role in the country. So I call it the industrial manufacturing ecosystems and technology ecosystems. So you can see this draws a timeline from when we actually started to where we are today. So the first time publicly and openly, formally, you could say semi-formally, the idea of special zones was introduced to Pakistan was around 2005 when we saw the President Hu Jintao visiting Pakistan and the idea of the SEZ came about. But the SEZ as developed in China was different, and how we interpreted and implemented it in Pakistan is different. Yet, it took us 7 years to come up with the act. So, from the day we had a buy in of the idea to the day we actually were able to come up with a law to support the SEZ idea, it took 7 years, almost eight. And then initially, the it was perceived that the SEZs and these special zones were the business of the government. Although the law was not written like that, law actually permitted the private sector development of the SEZs, etc. So initially, the development was the first converts were the existing government-owned estate companies like FIDMIC and KP Economic Zone, etc., which aimed to convert and repurpose the existing industrial infrastructure that they had, or whether it was under plan or under partially constructed. So that was the first step. So as we entered 2017, CPEC Phase 2 industrial collaboration, some SEZs had already been established and operative. But then there was the challenge of making new ones under the CPEC framework. So 2017 to 2019, that period, Rashakai, Dabeji, Allama Iqbal Industrial Park, SEZ, and Quaid-e-Azam Business Park, SEZ, these were actually taken, and prepared and implemented. And then we see first private sector multi-enterprise zone coming in 2020, and first private sector sole enterprise SEZ coming in 2020. That's when we note that the private sector for the first time understood their role and what the possibilities and opportunities of developing and operating SEZs. So you can see from the point of 2012, it took 8 years or approximately 7 years, you could say, for private sector to realize what the opportunity was and how to go about it. Then we also note that there were in the SEZ, there were certain things which required improvement, and either in the law or the interpretation of the law. Now, that is yet not done, but it doesn't to say that SEZs are not good, good propositions, but there could be so much extra to do. And then we come and see, we come to 2021 and we see the STZA Act and STZA rules. And these actually build on and improve significantly over the SEZ. So when you look at the STZ provisions of the STZ Act and you look at the provision of SEZ Act, there's a whole world of difference in what they offer to the investors as well as the developers as well as the zone enterprises. So we can see that it took 9 years, 11 years almost to come to this point where we have a far superior STZ model for Pakistan. Now, in the Pakistan ecosystem, so therefore there is the special economic zones, there are the special technology zones, and then the export processing zones. So each have its purpose. Each one has its own purpose, its own scope. And it's we normally advise our clients, etc., to consider putting the SEZ and STZ simultaneously. So in a synergistic manner, because there are things that SEZ cannot do, and there's things that STZ cannot do. But together, they become a very, very powerful, potent ecosystems in Pakistan for and comparable to anywhere in the developing country. The difference, let's quickly go through the slide. The only thing to see here is that STZ is a quicker and simpler process to follow because it's a single tier process. So there's the STZ authority, which reports to the Prime Minister's office. So, and there's only one set of application processing steps. But in SEZ, there are two stakeholders. There's the provincial government. So the application has to be seen approved by the provincial government, and then it goes to the Board of Investment, which is the reporting to the Prime Minister office. In the end, both of them are similar, give the same level of support from the Prime Minister's office, but SCZ is a longer gestation application process and has its own specifics, while STZ has its own specifics. Now, coming to STZ, the strategic intent, I've picked it up from the authority's vision, and then the strategic intent is to enable inclusive socio-economic development through knowledge and technology-driven growth, and developing the national innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem across Pakistan. As it can be done in state-owned facilities, and it can be done in public-private partnership facilities, it can be done in private sector-owned. And it is, in terms of its prerequisites, it's much more relaxed than the prerequisites for an SEZ. But what the objective is, obviously, you can see very commonly understood that the objectives are enhancing technology transfer, generation of employment, development of human capital, creating exports and causing import substitution, enhancing research and development, and therefore bringing investment, both international and local. So here you can see the requisite for a developer is just 5 acres of land, or 250,000 square feet of covered contiguous area. And it can be an existing building. So this is a unique proposition and a very good one, and there are many uh, companies which look at this as a favorable proposition that existing buildings can be converted based on economic justification and viability. But it requires collaboration with the university. It has to have a research and development collaboration, uh, either with the university or another institution. It should not target any technology or product banned in Pakistan. And the choice of technologies is quite remarkable. There are 42 preferred. This is a very wide range. And the category of facilities are also quite encompassing. Now, the point that has to be made here is that even yesterday, I was talking to somebody, an investor, and the first thing he said, STZ stands for Software Technology Zone. And this is the point that we want to make today and understand and project is that STZ is not about software only. It is not about IT only. And as you will see, um, you can see it's about IT, high tech electric and electronics production industry. It is R&D centers, business process outsourcing centers. Let me go further. Uh, Science and technology parks, etc., etc. And I'll go into the industry sectors in a moment. But it is very common for people to consider STZ either as a property or a master plan issue or simply a taxation issue. It is a bit of both, but this is not all. For an STZ to be successful, it has to align with an industry cluster, which I've shown at the bottom of the slide. You can see there needs to be an industry cluster that it's able to serve. If it is installed in isolation, it is unlikely to be successful. It has to have dependable utilities and services and certification and testing facilities available on site. For it to be successful, the location has to be convenient. We see many times that people are justifying it by fixing the property first because they just have a property and they want to convert into a technology zone and sometimes also SEZs. So, the desire could be right. I mean, you have a desire, but to do something with the property, but it may not be feasible at that location or site. So that needs to be carefully validated and checked. So not every STZ in any location will be successful. And then the property price has to be optimal, which makes sense for the zone enterprises and industry in that area. So therefore, if it's not done carefully, it can lead to a failure. It must have knowledge R&D collaboration and knowledge collaboration, incubation centers, university collaboration we've already mentioned. Training collaboration is crucial, and manpower pipeline and talent pool. So it's not just about property. The responsibility of the developer is to ensure that he has adequate manpower pipelines identified and validated that they exist. So if you don't do that, know-how and technology ecosystems will not function, particularly in a high-value manpower market. You can see here wide range of industry, as I said. You have on one side cloud computing, quantum computing, etc., IT and AI. But on the other side, you need to see in the middle at the bottom other existing and upcoming or emergent digital technology industries and sectors. Then Again, the simpler side like fintech, mobile payment, etc. These are the simpler, lower end IT work. So here you can see that it's not just about software; it's about more than software and programming, etc. Because IT law actually allows and aim encourages people to come with emerging digital technology industries and sectors. Then you also need to see that it encourages those related to manufacturing. It says fine chemicals. So there could be STZs focused on fine chemicals or agriculture technology or pharmaceuticals and smartphones and laptops, electronics and automobiles. So this brings me, that's where it fits very well, STZ particularly, very well with the challenge and that we face as a country and the transformation that the country has needs to go through, and also the economic challenge subsequently. We compared, generally, I'll not go through the details. These are available and I can share it with you also. It's competitive with the similar uh, high-tech parks in India and Bangladesh. We examined and studied it. So it's pretty competitive. There are plus and minus in each country, but broadly, you can't complain at all with the level of incentives being offered in Pakistan. Now, the key takeaways that I want everyone, and I'm aiming that people take away from here, is that STZ is not just about information technology. We can see more and more as consultants, we see more and more IT focus on STZ and hopelessly inadequate focus from the industry and manufacturing side. The knowledge and information is very low, um, um, just because of education and the understanding, because everybody says STZ stands for Software Technology Park. The second takeaway is there's a symbiotic relationship between the investment and facilitation uh, platforms, STZs, SEZs, FTZs, ordinary industrial estates and business parks. So it is very important for when developers actually look at one, they ought to look at the other to see how uh, they can they can actually harness the benefits in a way that one supports the other. And then the importance of clustering. So special zones do not prosper in a vacuum. So if you try and do a general purpose, one size fits all, uh, you will not be able to provide the knowledge pipeline or the services which are sharply focused on the particular industry cluster. Therefore, the importance of clustering. So, for example, if you are focusing, for example, on green technology, green energy park, then for sustainable and renewable energy or electric vehicles or environment. So basically, you need to select a cluster, uh, a main cluster, and a support cluster. This is necessary because a single cluster in a small economy like Pakistan can lead to a failure because you may not have enough interest generated. But if you make it too wide and try and cover everything, it will not be viable. And therefore, the quality of service and the value proposition weakens. So, ideally, we have found that uh, 2 to 3 clusters ought to be carefully selected when an STZ or SEZ is being conceived and designed. And therefore, when you're doing that, you need to make sure that there is a common common factors, underlying factors between the clusters also, so that they draw on the same rock bed of resources. Um, so I've already said it, so I'll just re-emphasize that the STZs have a crucial role in Pakistan's industrial transformation, but it needs to be done rightly, and it has focus has to be drawn of the Pakistani industrialists to the STZ, not just the IT sector. And then finally, um, business research on how to best utilize these very, very good platforms that Pakistan has, how they can be utilized, and what are the additional proposition, what are the knock-on benefits, and how what improvements to do further in these ecosystems needs business research by institutions like Lahore University of Management Sciences and others, so that there's more data based, information based policy making possible, and also design information for design of such paths is possible to do. So if we are to move further, these are the, I think, the four important aspects that we need to take care of. So with this, I hope uh, uh, it's been useful, uh, and we can open discussion. I am available to answer any questions. I think there's a panel to go from here. I would hand back the mic to the chair.
Right. Thank you very much, Hassan Ansari Saab. Uh, for the benefit of audience, I may remind that Hassan Ansari Saab had presented this workshop on 22nd of April, and that was in person at LUMS Energy Institute. LUMS Energy Institute is a think tank, and it is involved in capacity building in the areas of power and energy. Institution of Mechanical Engineers is a professional body of United Kingdom, where it has members across the globe in over 100 countries. So we, as part of power division of United Kingdom, we are part of that setup as the Pakistan Power Center, and we collaborate with the LUMS Energy Institute. And we got a platform called Pakistan Petroleum Institute, which is a platform for professionals in the petroleum sector. Uh, the LUMS Energy Institute is chaired by Dr. Fiaz Ahmed Chaudhary, who is connected with us today online. Uh, and he is one of the panelists. So Dr. Fiaz Ahmed Chaudhary has been involved in a lot of research at LUMS Energy Institute. And one of the key areas which actually he's taken up a challenge is to look at the load profile of the country, whereas we in Pakistan have 49% of domestic power consumption compared to the power consumption of industrial countries, which is in the early 20s, 21%. So domestic sector in the developing countries in something like 21%. Even India is in this range, whereas its industry is around 50%. So what Hassan Ansari Saab had been alluding to, it fits into our discussion. So our panelist, Dr. Fiaz Ahmed Chaudhary, will be talking about this, and we'll invite him shortly. Our panelist also includes Mr. Amir Salimi, who is Executive Director and member at Special Technology Zones. He had been Chief Operating Officer of Faisalabad Industrial State, and he had been his postgraduate degree in honors in economics and business administration. So we start off our discussion by inviting Dr. Fiaz Ahmed Chaudhary. Dr. Fiaz, are you there? Can you just set the scene from the energy perspective and why it is so important for us to actually get this industrial development going and set our this skewed power consumption right? Over to you, Dr. Fiasa. Dr. Fiaz, are you there? Right. So I think Dr. Fiaz, is on the move, and let's, if he's able to join back, he had earlier joined us, but if he's able to join back, so we'll take him on the call as well. So we move on to Mr. Amir Salimi Saab to get his views on this presentation so far, and then we'll open up the discussion. Your comment, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, and thank you very much, Hassan and Sari sir. I think you have covered each and everything what we have in our presentation. Uh, we at SCGA, it's been established by the government of Punjab, by the federal government in year 2021 under the Act of the Parliament, and we have been mandated as a regulator for the technology companies in the technology parks across Pakistan. So currently we have almost 13 special technology zones all across Pakistan, with more than 50 zone enterprises working over there, and who have employed almost 25,000 youngsters. We have the vision to enable a globally competitive knowledge and technology ecosystem in Pakistan with a vision to facilitate and regulate the development of world-class private and public technology homes to improve the country's global competitiveness. At the same time, we are in process of enhancing ease of doing business and cost effectiveness for local and the global technology companies in these special technology zones to boost investments, innovation, technology development, job creation, import substitution, and tech exports. We've been designed on the triple helix model. As we entered in the sixth wave of industrial revolution, it was important to opt this triple helix approach where industry, government, academia will work together for the development of technology sector in Pakistan. So, primarily what we did that we identified various universities across Pakistan, and we declared them as technology zones. The important example is Park Austria Professional University in Haripur, Agricultural University in Faisalabad, Pakistan Maritime Science and Technology Park in Barrier University, and we are in the process of evaluating the application of NUST and NED University, Karachi. So that's a starter point from our side, please, and I will be available to answer the queries of our audience.
Right. What we are going to do is Amir Saab and Dr. Fiaz, he is going to join us. He just had dropped. So in the end of discussion, we plan to have this 30 minutes of discussion. In the end, people who have questions, they can raise their hand in the end, and they may ask the questions to the presenter and to Amir Salimi Saab and the panelist Dr. Fiaz Saab. So, Amir Salimi Saab, can you elaborate on the clusters which Hassan Nasiruddin Saab had mentioned, cluster 1 and cluster 2? Can you comment on those?
Dr. Saab, Hassan Nasari Saab very rightly pointed out, technology parks are not for simply for the IT sector. We have identified 38 technologies in our act, and as he mentioned, that we are moving towards cluster-based technology parks across Pakistan. That's why we identified as Agricultural University for Agri Technologies. At the same time, National Aerospace Science and Technology Parks, NASTAP. We have four NASTAPs, Aerospace Science and Technology Parks, where we have aerospace technologies, more robotics, artificial intelligence, and a list goes on, especially in defense technology sites. Park Austria Professional University is primarily focused on engineering side, and at the same time, Pakistan Maritime Science and Technology Park, it has a cluster of maritime sciences and maritime industry. So we are heading towards a cluster-based technology parks across Pakistan.
Okay, sure.
That's only a solution for Pakistan.
Sure. Hassan Ansari Saab, do you want to elaborate on the same point on your recommendations of these clusters?
Yes, I think the offering from the STZ authority is a very, very good one. You can't actually fault it. The whole thing is that it needs to be implemented by the developer in justifying their project. So economic justification has to be a very sound basis. And if the cluster is not selected carefully, but then the cost, your value proposition doesn't fit very well. So to give you an example, if you set up your STZ and you're looking at an IT sector, right? And you set it up in a location where the people are not willing to go, particularly in the IT sector, or there are serious issues around transportation. Because IT people, they work, for example, if they are focusing on international market, it's like a 24/7 operation. And 24/7 operation, then you need to make sure the quality and the environment has to be right, and in terms of quality of life also. So if they have to travel more than 1 hour, etc., to get to your STZ, and it's not located properly, or the parking, for example, is not adequate, and there are time of day issues in terms of transportation, then it's not fitted very well. Or where you're looking at the resources. Most important is the human resource. So if you're too far away from the university or your R&D centers or R&D collaboration institutions, that is also a problem. So, for example, if the electricity quality, the connectivity, the data center, if these are absent or not of adequate quality, for that particular kind of work, so for software exports, your data center, etc., may be a different quality and size. For real research or programming and higher end services, it will need to be different. So if you're not clustering properly, you will not be able to provide the value proposition to the users, and therefore you'll have difficulty in attracting people and
Yeah,
also from earning revenue.
sure. And
Dr. Saab, I will add what Dr. Saab said. अगर आप worldwide जितने टेक्नोलॉजी पार्क्स हैं तो कोई हमारे अंदर तो फॉरन मौजूद नहीं है वर्ल्ड वाइड जितने भी हैं वो अर्बन एरियाज के अंदर बनते हैं सो व्हाट वी डिड कि हमने भी जितने भी आइडेंटिफाई किए हैं एज ऑफ टुडे जितनी भी साइट हैं हसन साई साहब ये सब की सब अर्बन लोकेलिटीज के अंदर हैं we do realize the challenges कि ये white collared jobs हैं और they want to stay very close to the urban population and urban areas. अगर आप world's best technology parks को देखते हैं उनको उनकी facilities को देखते हैं yes the very important thing is the location of the technology park which is providing ticket centers in the gyms over there. So tech guys are slightly a different sort of human capital, a pampered. I always use the word pampered human resource. And all the technology parks, what we have notified as of today, as seven are operational out of them, three are under construction. So everyone, we are getting, once we are receiving their master plan, that they cater all the these facilities in these parks. So they should be ideally located in the urban areas, should be well connected to the road network and public transport also.
yeah, sure.
And the commercial areas, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine. I think it does make sense to actually have these clusters strategically located so that you have all the infrastructure facilities at one place pertaining to a particular industry or area of technology. So, Dr. Fiaz, are you there, please? Okay. So, Dr. Fiaz, it
Hello.
looks yes,
Yeah.
Dr. Fiaz. Yeah,
Eh,
we before I think I understand that you were passing through an area which had a poor connection. So we were talking about from the power side. We had this discussion. We are having a discussion on this special technology zones, and you have a very strong view on this lopsided power consumption that we have in terms of domestic sector and the industrial sector, which is causing this great deal of circular debt and a greater load to the economy. So can you comment? Can you comment on this? What is the problem and why we really want this technology to take off so that our power industrial and power problems are resolved? Dr. Fiasab.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Uneet Saab. And clear again. Listening to Amar Salimi Saab and Ansari Saab. So yeah, I missed a few patches, but predominantly I had the chance to listen. The one major issue which relates to our progress is are we simply wasting our energy? To me, that wastage or leakage has to be stopped. So, and these technology zones are special economic zones. They can only do one thing: ease of doing business. And Salimi Saab can maybe better comment on it, or rather, this will be my question to him. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much ease of doing business he felt when he was in FIDMIC? All, with all the, maybe government push, but still some of very bureaucratic, rules and regulations that we have to follow, being a state-owned entity. So I think the challenge for Pakistan uh, has, and I was looking at the data even yesterday. In 85, our load factor was about 72. Now, what we are projecting is currently we are sitting at 59, and down the road in 10 years, we are projecting that we go to 50. This is for God's sakes. If that is the planning, or that is the future we are shooting for, then forget about any you can say progress. So our load factor needs to go back to 70 plus before we can even think of any progress. Means when we say load factor increase, that means industrialization. Whatever usage, 60% of our energy is being used by buildings. And these buildings only give you problem they generate maximum peak. And that peak, the more peak you have, the less load factor you will have. It means, I give, an analogy. Let's say you have 100 buses, and if your load factor of those, maybe occupancy factor is 50%, it means 25 passengers of a 50, seat bus. So that's what it means you need to set a tariff for those 25 on average, passengers, to not only recover your cost of service and the debt service that we are doing. So we need to increase that, the number of passengers, means from 25 to maybe 40. Only then you can survive as a nation. So our energy data is showing my load factor is decreasing, and it has been consistently decreasing for the last 30 plus years. So if, even as a planner, if we are projecting that my load factor on the energy usage is going low, it means there is no industrialization. So,
Sure.
so certainly, we need to increase our utilization. We have lots of power plants, lots of energy, and we have to make their utilization more. Their plant factors have to be higher. So what I see is going towards 50. So it means whatever we are talking about is basically we are going north, and the other planners are going south. So we need to
Yeah.
sit together, see how,
Okay.
and we can increase that load factor.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Pyasab. Let us ask this question to Amir Salimi Saab, his comments on ease of doing business. Can you comment, Amir Saab, on ease of doing business? If I mean, yeah.
Thank you very much. Dr. Fiaz very rightly pointed out two things. One is the load factor. Yes, it's going to be what yes, this is going to be achieved by a mass scale industrialization in Pakistan. That's the only way forward for us. We are at the moment our GDP growth. What we are foreseeing for the next fiscal year is 2.2%. Most probably we are going to achieve that, but for that we need a political stability in the country. We need a consistent policies for industry, and at the same time a reasonable policy rates for industrialization. We have installed capacity. I think, Dr. Saab, if I'm not wrong, 34,000 megawatt. And the current utilization is about 27,000 megawatt, if I'm not wrong. I'm not on energy side. Yes, we feel in providing ease of doing business to our industrial community. We have to provide them one window facilities to encourage the industrialists to come and invest in industry. We have already suggested we are IMF and won't be able to get subsidies or we have to gradually reduce our subsidies for all the sectors, including including the industry. Yes, we are lucky that we have the special economic zones and special economic zones available in Pakistan. We have to provide ease of doing business to our industrial community. Yes, at STZ, we are very happy to share that we use one real-time one window services for our STCs across Pakistan. And we have linked up one window with SCCP, with PRAL, with one link, and government regulatory bodies. And we are going to governments also to connect our one window to various government institutions to provide ease of doing business to the technology investors.
Okay, thank you, Amit sir. May I now invite people who have joined, if you have any questions, you can unmute your mic and you can raise your hand and we can invite you to ask a question. I will just move on. Before I do that, let me go back to Dr. Fayal. Dr. Fayal, do you have any comment to make, further comment? Okay, so I move on to the next topic that this is like one mega project and manpower development is like one big challenge. May I ask Hassan Ansari Saab to comment how we are going to train our manpower in all of these sectors and what are the challenges? Are we prepared for that? What is the plan in hand, Hassan Ansari Saab?
Well, before I answer your question, there's one insight I want to leave with the people. You see, I mentioned to you that for a $10,000 GDP per capita economy, you need 175 megawatt of installed power, right? You already have nearly 40,000 plus today, which is what you need for a $5,000 GDP per capita economy. It's a clear case of lopsided development. So one part of the economic sector has been developed far beyond the other ones. Now that, I mean, there's economic stress felt because of that on all of us individually, but the economic stress is felt by the zone enterprises as well as developers also, both on SEZ and STZs, because it's eating up a large chunk of your manufacturing, a component of your manufacturing cost. So what is happening is that on the one hand, you have great ideas like STZ or SEZ and economic systems, but energy, which is the lifeline for development, is ended up in a situation where it actually hampers development on this. So whereas now you're looking of, okay, now we want to pull development up on the technology side and manufacturing side, and at the same time you're pulled down and with this heavy piece of uh, cost, and therefore the value proposition for the zone enterprises is lowered by that much. It is not to say that it can't be compensated by other aspects of the value chain, but obviously it makes the investment less attractive. Now, coming to the manpower side, very importantly, as you know, um, in Pakistan on the technology side is has to be trained. It's not enough for for the kind of challenge we are facing, and our um, technology capacity to generate that kind of manpower is also very limited. Now, when the pull is created by the zone enterprises and the developers of the STZs or SEZs, uh, they falter on the availability of manpower. So that is why I was emphasizing that obviously there is something to be done at the macro level by the government to connect and line up adequate uh, capacity in on the education side. But when the developer is conceiving the STZ, there are things to be done on this side at the micro level. So if those micro level things are not done, the STZ or SEZs will falter.
May I take a comment from Amir Saab on this manpower development, please? What are the government initiatives in terms of this huge challenge that we are going to face?
Okay. Currently, we uh, are having 35,000 IT graduates per annum coming from all the universities across Pakistan, along with 15,000 graduates in the engineering disciplines. Uh, at the moment, we have $2.4 billion IT exports, and if you want to take it to, like, say, it's a $10 billion IT export, we need to double this figure in the coming 3 to 4 years. Yes, our universities are not equipped with the international standard curriculums. We are working in close collaboration with HECs, the zone developers and the zone enterprises to identify the particular skill sets required in the next 3 to 4 years, and then asking and requesting the universities to amend their curriculums and introduce the new technologies and subjects in their curriculums. Yes, it's very important, and that's going to be a real time challenge for Pakistan if we want to grow and enhance our exports from Pakistan. So without the human capital where we are lacking right now, it's not going to be possible. So it's a real-time challenge. So we're going to see the supply side of these STZs. So one is going to be the physical infrastructure, and the second is going to be your human capital. We are lacking in both. Somehow what we did that in the physical infrastructure side, we identified the low-hanging fruits. We identified various public sector buildings, and we modified them and converted them to the special technology zones. Once we are going for a brick and mortar model, that's going to take 3 or 4 years for the physical infrastructure to come. And at the same time, we we're requesting HSC and all the universities to please, we'll start today. We might be able to, after 4 years of degree, like say it's going to be 2028, and we are going to get the human capital in the market. So we are already late in that, but at the same time, we're never late, and we have to take, like we'll start from today, and we are very much confident that in the coming days, we will, on the supply side of these STCs, we will, inshallah, in the next 2 to 3 years, we'll be in a position to provide the physical structure of the technology company. At the same time, the graduates will be there in the market, will cater the those enterprises.
Yeah. I think here, I think I just like to make a comment that as in the presentation, it was mentioned that this special technology zones are more than the IT. So they have all the technologies, including the electrical and the electronics and the mechatronics and the mechanical engineering and the materials, etc. So I think you name biotechnology. So if we have asking universities to produce the skills, that's fine. But I think when you actually talk about the technology and the contribution to the economy and exporting products which are competitive to the outside world, then you need to have a clear plan where you can actually design your manpower in a scientific manner. So I think that's just my comment there. That I think we need to have a robust plan to train our manpower beyond the universities. So I think that's. I'm going to invite our audience who have joined online. I think Mr. Naveed Siddiqui has been sending comments. So I think maybe it may be good if you can just ask a question or a comment.
Yeah, sure. Can you
Now,
hear me, Doctor?
Yes.
Doctor, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
I have listed questions so that they may be answered afterwards also. But I would just point out a few things. Number one is that the symbiotics, what was talked about. So my question is, how would these institutes, which apparently are self-contained or maybe independent, how would they work together? Is there anybody on top of them? How do they interact? What is their modus operandi? Because at the end of the day, it is this system which sometimes causes the failure. May I ask two questions or one question at a time?
If it's related, you can tag it
It is
along.
related. Yeah, it is related. So what I also want to know is that these clusters, are they already defined, whether they have been defined technology wise so that they interact with each other and help each other? Have they been defined geographically location wise? Have the country been mapped? Because if they are going to provide ease of business, then they should be knowing where the ease of business is going to be. So they should upfront provide that information. Maybe it is already in there. I have not seen that those documents. Then I would have to see that. I just want them to reconfirm if it's already there. So then that is and one thing is that again the discussion is more focused on IT and not on the other mechanical aggregates, as you have also pointed out. Thank you.
Okay. So over to you, Amit Saab. Would you like to answer this?
Rightly pointed out, very rightly pointed out. What we did, like in NASDAPs across Pakistan, we have 4 National Aerospace Science and Technology Parks. One is in Rawalpindi, Islamabad, one in Lahore, one in Karachi, and there's one more is coming up in Kamra. That is all about aerospace technologies, robotics, artificial intelligence. It's more about the defense technologies, exactly the cluster-based, as you suggested, and your comments are. We identified Agriculture University, I mentioned earlier, for agriculture technologies. We identified Pakistan Maritime Science and Technology Park in Karachi for maritime technologies. So we are doing at the moment the cluster-based geographical locations across Pakistan where these companies can work together and collaborate with each other and be a part of that particular ecosystem where they can work together and exchange their views, the business ideas. So this is how we have taken the approach on that.
Okay. So we move on to Iqtidar Said. Mr. Iqtidar Said, can you?
Yes, sir. I'm
you
online and thank you very much. I am one of the very enthusiastic and regular participant of these forums, and I really admire the extent of information that they pass on. Just to repeat my brief introduction, I am an energy specialist. I have worked for over 40 years and handled projects, etc. This today's presentation was special because it provides a wide spectrum of exactly what is going to be, what is on the canvas for these special technology zone. And it is heartening to know that it is not, as people think, that it is IT based, but it is also inclusive of many other important areas where the country needs to be developed, especially self production expertise. I think it would be, it's just a suggestion, not a question. It would be nice to move on a little bit in the same direction. Like the first presentation was very good. It provided the journal information, and now we have the wide spectrum as to what is the status. Although 7 years, almost 7 years have passed, but what is the status for how do we have the breakup of the licenses issued and how the individual aspiring people are planning there. Second, and my favorite suggestion would be that if inshallah, if it comes up and by year 2050, let's say 2025, then 30, 35, if the development continues at some pace, then infrastructure and resource development will be the major key to success. Like energy, like power availability, etc. So, if once we know what kind of licenses have been applied and what would be their requirement for the infrastructure support, only then we can expect the progress to pace up. That was the suggestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Iqtidar Said. So that was just a suggestion. I think we can. Amir Saab, do you want to make a quick comment, or we can move forward?
I'm going to. There are 2-3 parts in the suggestions been made. Primarily is the requirement for the zones which we declared as technology parks. We require 250,000 square feet contiguous area and or 5 acres of land in any urban area of Pakistan. That's it. Okay. Can you please ask the second part? The zone enterprises, the number of zone enterprises, the licenses we have issued so far. Are you getting me?
Yeah, I think there is a slight break in the voice, so maybe you could just maybe repeat it, please.
I think. Are you getting us?
Yes.
So far, we have issued 13 zone developer licenses, and there are almost 7 zone developer licenses are under review by us, which is going to be completed in next month's time, and then the total rooms will be 19 to 20 in by the end of this fiscal year, accommodating almost more than 120 zone enterprises in and more. There are zone enterprises, and at the same time there are companies who are already working, but they are technology companies. So they are already exempted from the taxes. So it's going to see the cumulative number in these technology parks by the end of this fiscal year. It's going to be almost 300 plus companies working in these technology parks.
Thank you. Thank you, Amir sir. May I just go quickly? I think we are about to now wrap up. I know that I'm mindful that there are people who are connected, and I can see if they want to make any comment, it's fine. If not, then we'll move on. Mr. Naeem Shafiq, I can see you there. Are you connected? Okay. Dr. Mansoor Niazi, are you there? Right. I think I know that they're still Mr. Nadeem. You please ask the question.
Assalamu alaikum. Nadeem, and by training, I'm a chemical engineer and have experience in oil and gas sector. My question is for Mr. Salimi, that we must be having many similar situations, specifically talking about some friendly neighboring countries, from where we can get the benefit of their success stories. So, are we in touch with those sectors and those countries where we can share the experiences and get direct some quick wins which we can apply over here? So that was my short question. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadeem.
We have a collaboration with Z Park in China. We are exchanging we are getting expertise from them and exchanging our views on a monthly basis. At the same time, our business development team, they are in touch with few technology parks in Turkey. These technology parks are exclusively for the defense technologies, and as we have recently planned through space and science technology parks and defense technology parks across Pakistan. So we are collaborating with and getting benefits from the expertise of the technology parks in that particular field, and especially the Z Park in Beijing in China.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I think we've now come to an end of this session. May I thank Mr. Hassan Nasiruddin Ansari for his valuable presentation and participation by our panelists, Mr. Amir Salimi Saab and Dr. Fiaz Chaudhry Saab. I thank you all, and people who joined from other places remotely. This presentation hopefully will be available, and we should be able to present it on relevant channels as well. I think recording will also be available. I thank you very much again, and we now sign off.